Morning, everybody. It is Thursday. I have no idea what date it is. I think it's the 2nd of February. I think 10 more days to go. No, wait. Yes, 10 more days to go. We used to sing this when we were at Girl Guides. 10 more days of sorrow, 10 more days, and we'd sing it at school as well. 10 more days in this old dump and we'll be home tomorrow. That's what we used to sing. But I'm not singing this old dump because I'm not in a dump. I'm in a very nice house. Got the fan going. It's beautiful. The weather's sunny and shiny. The skies are blue. But it is 10 more days to my darling's birthday. 10 more days to his 10th birthday. Can you believe that a decade has gone by so fast since I first had my beautiful, beautiful boy, Reese? Yes, here we go. And so, I won't see him for his birthday, although I will see him on FaceTime, of course. He's got play dates, he's got all sorts of exciting things. Some of them are secrets, so I can't tell you because he might be listening in or he might click in later on. So we're not going to tell him what secrets we have, but we do have secrets. It's this time a year ago, a little bit longer, maybe a week later, when he had the best ever gift. Christmas, birthday, Easter, you name it. He had the best gift ever because if you can all remember, some of you didn't even know me then, but those of you who did, if you remember, he got a puppy for his birthday. I bought him a beautiful puppy. Apache is now a year old, and it will be a year next week, whenever it is, the week after. Uh, since he and my boy have been together, and you should see them. They are inseparable, absolutely inseparable. Now, I know you don't want me to keep going on, but I was just waiting to see, allowing people to click on and so on. It's an exciting morning this morning. Yes, wait a minute. It is an exciting morning this morning. Yes, it is. I'm doing what I promised. For those of you who remember, we're going to be talking about the pendulum, and I'm going to be showing you a few little tricks about how you too can use a pendulum. All right, but before we do that, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we begin, first and foremost, of course, let's say good morning, shall we, to my spirit guide Grey Eagle, who is standing to my right side, as always. And stroking my face into the bargain. I like that. And yes, and who else are we saying good morning to? We're saying good morning to Chris.
Good morning.
She's like the Indian in the cupboard. And we have a guest this morning. She's not going to be on camera. I've got no makeup on. I can't be on camera. Don't make me be on camera. But she's my friend Mary Lou, who wants to know more about the pendulum. So she hopped foot over here this morning. Can I come and watch while you do this? Of course she can. And unfortunately for all of you who wish you were here with Mary Lou sitting on the sofa, she gets my attention. Once we've done the show, she and I will be helping her to make her pendulum, practicing her pendulum, all the rest of it. All right, so I've got the fan going. Yes, for all of you who are concerned, my coffee's getting better, but the fan is going a little bit, which isn't helping too much, but still getting better and better. Every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. All right, so Chris, do we have anybody there this morning?
Oh, I think we have a lot of people on excited about this show and the pendulum.
Okay, so do you think, I'm not quite sure if everybody started logging on, but here's the thing. If you are ever late to the show, you can always go back and click on YouTube, and you can find it on YouTube. You can always, or you can, there are ways and means to find this show. Unfortunately, it won't be live for you, but still, you should get a kick out of it. All right. Shall we get started? Why do we get started? Yes, I mean, it's enough talking, because we will hopefully have time for questions. I don't know how many, but it depends how long I do this for. I do just want to remind all of you that I am doing a workshop this coming Saturday in the afternoon. I think it starts at 2. I know that Chris will put it up on the link for you, but if you want to know more about it, please do go to my website. And it's very simple. All you have to do is type in rosemaryaltea.com. But a lot of people don't seem to want to do that. They seem to want to email or question, and then we have to say, go to the website. So if you are in doubt of anything at all that goes on with us, go to the website and check us out. Why don't you go and check us out? You can look up. I'm tempting you now, aren't I? Tempting you. Right. All right. We're going to have a little teaching session here. Those of you who are watching, who are already my students, have done this. You have done this before, and you know what an excellent teacher I am. But what most people don't know, unless you've been a student of mine, is how tough a teacher I am. So I expect your full attention. You know, when we were kids, there was a radio show. I know this was before. I'm going to shock you. I know I'm going to shock you, but I have to tell you, I was born before we had televisions in England. Now, in America, you'd have them for 10 years or more, but in England, when I was a little girl, we did not have TVs. Not in my house anyway, because we were not a wealthy family. So anyway, so we would listen to the radio, and in the afternoons, for all the little children in the afternoons who were, babies or what have you, there would be a story time, and it would be, you know, uh, uh, mother and child, or what, I can't remember what they called it, but anyway, it would always begin with Once Upon a Time. You know, when you listen to my stories on Saturday, that I always begin every story with Once Upon a Time. But we're not going to do that quite now. I don't even know why I'm rambling. Let's get to it. If you do not have a pendulum, you can make one. You can go to the store and you can buy one if you like. But I promise you that when you buy a pendulum in the store, it there's no magic with it. Just because it's bought, just because somebody else made it, just because they have all these fabulous advertisements which say, silver pendulum, gold pendulum, whatever it is they say, that doesn't matter a bit. You make your own, it's much better. Now, you can make a pendulum out of wood, yes, cork, anything you like, anything that has a slight weight to it, this is not heavy, but when I lift it, there is a slight weight to it. So if you're going to use cork, you've got to make sure that it's fairly heavy, or you double the cork or whatever. So you can make it a pendulum with anything. Better still, if you raid your jewelry store, or your wife's jewelry store, or your girlfriend's jewelry store, if you go to a flea market and raid a store, you can get really cheap, um, jewelry, beads, you name it. Beads are great. Wooden beads are really great. So a nice sort of heavy bead will work. I like to have something with a slight point at the end, because when I'm looking for something, if I'm using a map, for instance, and I'm looking for something, I like to make sure that the point is sort of coming down and actually being directed to whatever it is that I'm looking for. So you don't have to have a point. You can use anything you like. If you've got an old necklace, or if you want to steal an old necklace out of your mother's jewelry box or whatever, you can do that. Mary Lou is quickly shutting all of the windows. I did say to her, have the windows open, but it does get a bit noisy when the dustbin men come. Oh, dustbin men, garbage trucks, for those of you in America. Anyway, okay, so we're now absolutely closed in. The garbage trucks are coming. We can't hear them because no windows are open. Right, now then. So you can use anything at all, if you've got something in a drawer, something of your mother's or your sister's or your wife's or whoever, that you can use that, or you can just go out and buy something if you want. But if you buy something, don't think because you bought it and it cost you this X amount that it's going to be any better and any more magical than anything you made yourself. I always think that if you're creating something yourself, when you're creating something yourself, you put a lot of energy into it. And that, energy is everything. Energy is powerful. And I think that's a good thing. I am using this, and you might say, well, I didn't make this. And you're right, I didn't make this. But for years and years and years and years, this was around my neck, absorbing my energy, because as we all know, jewelry does absorb our energy. Uh, we have a great effect doing uh, stuff with energy. We have a great effect when we are doing our, holding on to stuff and getting the energy from it and so on and so forth. It's great. So we pick up on energy. So when you're making your pendulum, do bear in mind that when you're thinking, whatever your thoughts are, they're going to have to be pure as well. You can't be making your pendulum and being angry at somebody at the same time, because it will absorb your energy. So energy has to be nice and pure and clear. If you buy something, if you prefer to buy something, then what you need to do is when you take it home, you need to hold it or wear it, whatever it is, for a while, but no negative thoughts, because negative thoughts are negative energy, and you don't want your pendulum to have any negative energy whatsoever. I love this necklace, and as I've said, I still wear it sometimes, but I used to wear it all the time and never take it off. So it's got all of my energy absorbed into it. Nobody else's, just mine. All right, so make your pendulum. Now what you do with it? Well, you've got your pendulum, and now what? What are you going to do now with it? Okay, so we can use a pendulum as a dowser. If you're wanting to divine water, it will work, but you're better off with divining rods. But if I want to find something on a map, or if I want to know something about my grandson, or if I want to, for instance, know what Mary Lou had for breakfast this morning, I can. Yes, I know it's weird, right? But why would I want to know what she ate for breakfast this morning? But those are the kinds of things you begin to ask your pendulum, because you're beginners. If you're beginners, you start with the simple things. You start with asking questions of the people around you. For instance, if I was making my list this morning, I would make a list. I would be saying, okay, first question, did Mary Lou have cereal for breakfast? Yes or no? Now you notice I'm not saying what did Mary Lou have for breakfast. I'm asking specifically, did Mary Lou have cereal for breakfast? You see, now I'm not even using my pendulum, and I know that she didn't. Don't tell me you did. Did you have cereal for breakfast this morning? No. No. See, you know. But if I were using my pendulum, so I would ask, did Mary Lou have cereal for breakfast this morning? Yes or no? Uh, did Chris have breakfast this morning? Yes or no? Um, let me see. Let me think. What other questions could I ask? Every question that you ask when you first begin, ask questions of the people you know, and then you can call them up afterwards, and you can check to see if you were right or not. Every question you ask with a pendulum, sensibly, when you're first beginning, has to be a question with a yes or no answer. It has to be clear and precise. So if I were doing this pendulum by myself, and Mary Lou were not here, and I wasn't psychic, so I don't need the pendulum anyway, I would hold the pendulum carefully in my hand. I don't know if you're noticing, but I'm resting my other hand to keep my elbow still. You can rest your elbow on your knee, you can rest it on a table, you can rest it anywhere you like, uh, as long as you're sort of, resting it to keep it still. Because, of course, the more you move your hand, and I can hear some of you saying, yeah, well, the pendulum's moving, isn't it? The pendulum is absolutely, it's moving. So you try to get the pendulum as still as you can, and I'm going to hold it. I don't know how clearly, so I'm going to hold it like this. Okay. And I'm going to keep it as still as possible. You can see it's wobbling. But now this is what I am going to decide next. And this is when you're using your pendulum, this is what you decide next. You want to know your pendulum can, I'm going to do this. This is me doing this. This is not anybody in the spirit world doing this. This is not Grey Eagle moving my elbow. I'm doing this just to show you. So okay, you can. And you decide before you use your pendulum. And once you've decided which way you want your pendulum to work, stick to it. Don't change it. Stick to it. So I want my pendulum to, let me see, these are my choices. So I can have my pendulum swinging like that for yes, right? So it's back and forth, back and forth. Or and should I say, and that way for no. So if I ask my pendulum a question and I've decided that that's how I want it to work, that is the yes. Back and forth is the yes, and side to side is the no. Okay, that's not your only choice. Okay, your other choice is, okay, let's do this pendulum again. This is me doing it. I'm not, I'm deliberately moving the pendulum, just so you know, right? Straight down. So now, okay, if I want my pendulum to say yes, and I don't want to use the swinging back and forth method, then I'm going to see if my pendulum will swing in a circle. I don't know if you can see that. So going around in a circle clockwise means yes, which means if I want to know in that method using the circular motion, going to the anti-clockwise, is that right? Anyway, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying. Is a no. So you've got two choices. You can have your pendulum swing back and forth for yes and side to side to no for no, making it really simple for you. Or you can do a circular. You can decide, okay, I want my pendulum to swing around going is that clockwise? So no, it doesn't. It doesn't. Well, anyway, anti-clockwise. So who cares really? I know what I'm doing. So anti-clockwise for yes, clockwise for no. Or you can have it whichever way around you choose. You can have it swinging like this back and forth for no, and side to side for yes. But once you have decided, you can swing it around clockwise for yes, anti-clockwise for no, or the other way. But once you have decided on your method of communicating with your pendulum, stick to it. So, for these purposes this morning, I'm going to use uh, back and forth, front back for yes, and I'm going to use a side to side for no. Okay, that's my choice. You do what you want. And you might want to experiment with it a little bit and see which feels better for you. You might like the circular movement better, or you might like the swinging back and forth better. So it's your choice. Practice with it, play with it until you feel comfortable. But once you feel comfortable and you've made that decision, stick to it. Stick to it. All right. Now, I just said when you're communicating with your pendulum, but we really know that I can't really communicate, can't talk to this pendulum, can I really? But I can communicate my energy. And my energy, because when you're using the pendulum or when you're using anything at all, I'm going to show you another week how to do your ice cream dish. You'll love that. Love it, right? But that's a whole other thing. When we when we're doing this, what we're doing is, as we sit and we're quiet and we're sitting with the pendulum, which is what you must do. So before you even begin, once you've made the pendulum and you start to practice this, and we'll do it over the weeks, we'll have another, go at it. And I know you'll be sending in questions. My pendulum does this, and what does this mean with my pendulum? Well, we're going to be dealing with all of that later, but these are the basics. This is the very basics of the pendulum, the do's and don'ts of the pendulum. So once you've made your pendulum, and remember when you're making it, you need to be thinking positive thoughts, you need to be putting positive energy in there, and so on. Then, when you're ready to use it, excuse me, you need to first of all take that breath, almost as if you're getting ready to either receive healing or to give healing. Take a deep breath, breathe in through your solar plexus, center yourself. That's what it's called. Take a breath, calm yourself. So be very calm here, very, very calm in your mind. And then I want you to see if you can raise your level of consciousness. I know, and how do you do that? Well, you think powerful thoughts. You tune in to the forces that are around you. If you want your mummy or your daddy to help you in the spirit world, then tune into them, think about them, ask them if they'll draw close to you and help you. Why not? We need as much help as we can possibly get. And after all, Grey Eagle helps me, so why shouldn't you have someone to help you? So you tune in to whoever it is, and when you're raising your level of consciousness, that basically means that you're sort of striving to lift your ordinary conscious mind. You're trying to lift it and move it outward so that you become more in tune with the energy that's around you. So before we begin the pendulum work, we take a breath. We still ourselves. We become very still and very quiet. And when we feel ready, we take our pendulum. I'm using 2 fingers. If you like, you can use that, but I think it's more effective, you have more control, making sure that you're not moving it, right? Although your energy is transmitted through there. And really and truly, the pendulum is just the tool that helps you to raise your level of consciousness. The pendulum isn't magical in itself, but what you're using it for and how you're transmitting your energy through you, raising your level of consciousness, connecting with your higher self, connecting with that knowing self that we all have within us. So we become very still, and okay, and now if the pendulum moves, it is not me, because I'm holding my elbow and I'm being very still. I already know the question because I've just asked it. Did Mary Lou have cereal for breakfast? When you ask the question, look, it's already doing it. It's hold still. I'm not ready yet. Uh, it's already moving. Oh, here we go. Did I say side to side was no? I did. I said side to side was no. So we know because I asked Mary Lou, we know. But it's barely moving. Well, it's barely moving because we already know, because we already did this. So oops. And here we go again. Wait a minute. I got to get out of this. You may be able to see me, but I can't see me. So hold on a minute. It keeps doing that. So, all right. So let's ask another question. And this time, it's got to be Mary Lou because she's sitting here, so we can get the answer to Mary Lou's easily. So remember, back and forth is yes. Side to side is no. That's what I decided. Okay, now hold on to it. Keep it as still as you possibly can. Trying to do this for the camera as well. So this is not easy at all. So, right. So did Mary Lou have an issue with her foot? Or I think it might be her ankle. See, I can't help it myself. I'm cheating because I'm psychic. What can I tell you? But I'm asking my pendulum. Did Mary Lou have an issue with her foot or her ankle over the last few days? And I have no idea of the answer to that question, but my pendulum is actually saying yes, she did, because it's moving back and forth. Hello, over there.
Yes.
Did you?
Yeah, with my one foot, my toe. Yes.
Your
one of my
toe.
toes, yes.
That works for me. See how this little pendulum is working now. All right. So you always ask a question which is yes or no. I'm not going to push my luck any further, I think, because we got two right. Should I do a third? Let's do a third. Why don't we just do a third? Let's see. Oops. You have to get the pendulum as still as possible. And I do that by, I don't anticipate the question. Let's not. You see, I'm already thinking way ahead of you guys. So that's why my pendulum is moving already. Whatever the question is, don't even know what the question is yet, but the answer is yes. Maybe not. We have to be careful. I'm not sort of thinking, I'm trying to keep it as still as I possibly can. So apparently, I'm looking to the weekend, making it as simple as I possibly can. So I'm asking, did Mary Lou's plans for this weekend change? Yes or no? And I don't know. I've no idea. And here we go again. And so it's a yes. Did you know your plans have changed?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you did? Little sticks. I wanted to be able to say to Mary Lou, your plans are going to change. But anyway, so all right. So remember the question. So this is what you need to do. Think about the people that you know well, who won't think you're nuts when you say to them, you know, did your plans for the weekend change? Mary Lou knows that I'm a little crazy, but not quite nuts. So you need to have other people who sort of maybe even get other people to do it with you. Maybe get a group of 3 or 4 or even 10 of you, which is my story about the pendulum. And you make a list, and you need to be doing this at least once a day to become, practice makes perfect, right? Don't have to do it once a day, but it's fun. And especially when you start to get things right. Now, here's the truth of it. People can say to you, well, it's 50-50, isn't it? It's a yes or a no, it's 50-50. But the more you get it correct, the more times you get the correct answers, even sometimes unexpected answers, the more times you'll begin to realize that there is a pattern and that you actually can do this. You might get 8 out of 10 of the questions right, or 4 out of 5 of the questions right, or you might get them all wrong. There are people who can really do this really, really well, and there are people who really have a hard time doing it. The people who, have a hard time doing it are those people who perhaps don't believe really that it can work. If you believe that it can work and you raise your level of consciousness and you get to that point of being very, very still, raising your level of consciousness, be still, and then go down your list. You might have 5 questions or 6 questions. 7 is always a good number. So let's say 7 questions. You can ask those questions of the same person, or you can ask those questions of different people. So if I were going to make my list, for instance, I would say on my list, did Mary Lou have cereal today? And I would, I have a little box next to the question, yes or no, and then I would say, did my grandson have his pancakes this morning? And the surprising answer to that, because I would have said yes, the surprising answer is no, he actually had something else for breakfast this morning, which is extremely unusual. I'm going to check with him later on to see what he did do this morning for his breakfast. People, simple questions. Those questions cannot have another answer other than yes or no. Because when you give a question, it could be a maybe, or it could be, you ask a question that it, gives two or three different choices, or well, maybe I can't remember, whatever. Then you scratch it off the list. Keep it simple, keep it easy. Do it every day. As I say, you can do it with if you get a group of friends doing it with you. They'll ask their questions and you will ask your questions. You can ask a question of each of them. They can ask a question of each of you, and let's see which of you really starts to get good at this and which of you doesn't. Practice makes perfect. Don't do it all day, every day, please. It's, it doesn't replace the television. It doesn't replace your phone. It doesn't replace anything. But at least, if you feel like doing it 2 or 3 times in a day, when the mood takes you, when the urge takes you, then why not do it? I told you a story about my architect friend who I helped him find a place where he could build. I've used it on maps. Those things aren't simple yes or no's. Those are for the more advanced ways that we use the pendulum. And dowsing is a whole other thing. If you're interested in dowsing, they have lots of dowsing societies all over the country. Anywhere you live, you'll find a dowsing society somewhere. But dowsing rods are really good for that. But anyway, here is your pendulum. Have a go, use it, and see what you can come up with. Now, I did say that some people are better at this than others, so I'm going to tell you very quickly a story about my students. So I had a bunch of students. I think there were about maybe 20 or 30 students. And I don't know if Kay is listening, but she was definitely one of the people who participated in this. So what I did for an exercise, and if you're doing this with a group of friends, you might want to try this too. So what I did was I used butter tubs, just plastic tubs. I cleaned them out thoroughly. I washed them out, no trace of anything. They were totally clean inside. Now, we have all sorts of plastic stuff that you can use, and just make sure it's not see-through, right? You want something that has a lid, and they just need to be small tubs. So what I did with my students, I got 10 tubs, scrubbed them as clean as I could possibly do, and then I found 10 different things to put in the butter tubs. Okay, so in one tub, I put old half-smoked cigarettes and cigarette ash. I had to get that from somebody else because I've never smoked. So in one of the tubs was cigarette ash. And what I did was I numbered the tubs. And my own list for my own self was I numbered number 1 was the cigarette ash. Number 2 were the healthy chopped up vegetables that I put in the tub. Number 3 was hand soap. Number 4 was something, and so on and so forth. And so until I put just a little of something in each of the tubs. You don't have to fill them. Just put whatever it is you decide. You could put any kind of food or drink or other. So my one question for all of these 10 tubs was, and for all of my students, and I gave them each a chart, each piece of paper, and all of the tubs were numbered 1 to 10. And by the side of each number were 2 boxes. A tick for yes in that box, a tick for no in that box. And here was the question that they had to ask. Is what is inside this tub healthy for me to eat? Yes or no? And then they had to go around, and we had my big dining table, and they all walked around the tables. It was quite fascinating to watch them all because they were all focused, very, very focused. And then they'd hold the pendulum over, and the pendulum would tell them, they'd give them a yes or give them a no. And it was very interesting, and they loved it. They had so much fun doing it. So then once they'd all done it and they'd marked off their papers and everything, we all sat down and I said, okay, right. So I went through, and who said yes to number 1? A couple of people put their hands up, but most people actually put a no. Well, is cigarette ash healthy for you to eat? Of course it isn't. So, and we went through the tubs like that. Now, some of the students got 6 out of 10. Some of the students got 7 out of 10. But we had one student she was really rocking it. And at the end of the time, she got 9 out of 10 right. She was obviously pretty good at this. She was obviously really pretty good at raising her level of consciousness, tuning in to her own sort of sensitivities and tuning into her own sort of psychic abilities there. She was really, really good at it. And we were so disappointed when it actually came to the last tub and it was a no. She got 1 out of 10 wrong. Or did she? Right. So now I come to opening the boxes to show them what's inside. And again, we're all having lots of fun. It's a fun exercise. And those people who were getting even 6 out of 10, they were so pleased with themselves. Yes, 50-50. But then if you do it and then you do it again and you do it again, and the results are the same or even better, you begin to realize, actually, no, you're doing pretty good here. This is something that you can do, which is the time when you're feeling pretty good at this simple way to begin your pendulum. Then you can go for sort of more curiosity, more interest. You can go find other things with your pendulum. Anyway, for the purpose of this story, my star student here, she gets 9 out of 10. Everybody's patting her on the back and telling her how good she is. And then I open the tubs and they can see what's inside. And the one that she got wrong, let's say it was number 7. Why don't we? Just, because I don't remember. She, she looked inside and she put, remember the question was, is this healthy for you to eat? And she'd put a no. And of course, it was a yes, because it was a medley of beautiful, fresh, healthy vegetables that I'd chopped up just an hour before they all came, and nice and fresh and delicious and healthy. And she looked inside the tub and she said, is that aubergine in there? In America, you call it eggplant, right? Whatever it was. And I think that's what it was. I can't quite remember. It could have been a courgette, or what you call a courgette. You call a courgette a zucchini. Anyway, is that, she says, pointing in there. And I said, yes. And she said, well, Rosemary, I'm allergic to them. So when she ticked off a no, because these are healthy vegetables, this is not healthy for me, she was absolutely right. And she got 10 out of 10. And I know that she practiced with the pendulum. We did more pendulum work with my students and so on. But it was so much fun for her to see, wow. And she became really, really good at using the pendulum. Now, the pendulum is only one way of connecting, of extending your energy, of raising your level of consciousness. But it's a good way. It's a fun way. And I hope that some of you, even now perhaps, are thinking of where in your drawers could you perhaps find something to use as a pendulum. All right, we're going to go for questions, Chris. So,
Okay, Kay is here and she does remember that.
hi, Kay.
Michael has a question saying, hello, Rosemary. Great to
Hi,
see
Michael.
you. So when the pendulum is answering, is it the pendulum itself that's answering the question, or is the question being answered by an outside spirit, or what exactly?
Okay, the pendulum is the tool that you are using. It's got nothing to do with anything, any. I can't call them spirits, Michael. They're people. Um, uh, it's got nothing to do with your parents. When I say to you, connect with your parents, connect with your loved ones in the spirit world, what you're doing is you're asking them to help you to become more in tune. The pendulum is, where is it again? The pendulum is simply an extension of your energy, your tuning in, your knowledge. We all have it. We're all born with it. Most of us don't use it. We don't know how to use it. But this little exercise is showing you how you can tune in to your natural resources. Remember, there's no such thing as the supernatural. Everything is natural and normal. There's no such thing as the paranormal because everything is natural and normal. So the energy is coming from you, from your knowledge, from your inner knowledge. You are tuning in, you are trying as you're doing this to raise your level of consciousness, and you're trying to become more aware and more in tune with your own self and with your own soul. And so that energy, as you're using the pendulum, is coming directly from you. So, what your loved ones in the spirit world are doing is they are encouraging you, and they're helping you, and they're bringing great energy around you so that when you're trying to raise your level of consciousness, you've got a lot of help doing that. They're not giving you the answers, and they're not moving or manipulating the pendulum. That's all you. Your energy is traveling through you, if you like, down your arm, into your fingers, and down through the pendulum. There it is. And oh, yes, I don't know. Michael, you're asking a question, and the answer is yes. I don't even know what the question is, but I know the answer is yes. All right, Chris, next.
He followed up with, can you do a tutorial like this one on psychometry?
Oh, fiddlesticks. The answer is yes. Yes, Michael. And when I was talking earlier, and I was talking about we're going to be doing this more and more, I like the word tutorial. Anyway, I think sort of doing this on our Thursday shows, and even those of you who are working, you can go to YouTube and find it. And I think what we're going to be doing is I thought about this the other day, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice if sort of once or twice a month on a Thursday morning we could have some little tutorials going on, and psychometry, of course. And I mentioned earlier the isn't that funny that the pendulum was right? And I didn't even know the question you were asking. I mentioned the ice cream. You're all going to like that. So if you don't like dark chocolate, you can use vanilla. If you use vanilla ice cream, you have to have a dark plate. And if you like chocolate ice cream, you use a light plate. Have I intrigued you? Yes. Well, look, I have all these things up my sleeve. Auras, how you develop your ability to see auras, and we know I've talked to you before about, the first time I ever saw an aura was on a woodlouse, of all things. Spiders have fabulous auras, golden bright, teeny tiny pinpricks of bright, shiny light. Yes. How would you know to develop your ability to see auras? Well, we're going to be talking about all of that stuff as well. So many things oh gosh, I've been doing this for so long. I've got so many tools in my tool bag, and we're going to be doing tutorials with all of them. So, see, Michael, even before I knew the question, I knew the answer. Right, Chris.
Rhonda says, I'm excited to make and use my pendulum.
Oh,
The,
good.
as- the aspen leaf I wanted to use is too light, so
Yes.
I'll find or make one.
Yeah, you have to have something with a little bit of weight on it. It doesn't have to be particularly heavy. It doesn't have to be as big as this either. A small bead or something, or whatever. And if it's something that you love or you've had for a while, by all means, use that too. Keep going, Chris.
Tracy's comment is, what is the point in this exercise? Or am I missing something here?
Tracy, the point and the reason I do it with my students is because I want them to learn how to raise their level of consciousness, how to become more in tune with their own selves, how to become more in tune with their own soul. And these exercises really do help us to become much more aware, much more sensitive, and much more aware of those things that are beyond our ordinary vision, or those things that are beyond our ordinary hearing or beyond our ordinary senses. So building your sensitivity to those outside forces, building your sensitivity to your own self and to your own soul, and creating a connection with your own soul. These are exercises that can make you become more in tune, that can make you become more aware, and they show you how to, the simplest ways, they show you how to raise your level of consciousness so that you become not only more in tune with your own self and your own soul, you become more in tune with those in the spirit world around you. And well, I think that's a positive. So it's these small things, these little things that a lot of people dismiss, and as you just said, you don't see the point of. The point is raising your level of consciousness, becoming more aware. How do you do it? What do you do? How can you? A chef becomes a chef because he tastes. One of the most important things with a good chef, if you don't see your chef tasting his food, he's not a good chef. No. So they're tasting, they're using this ability to taste. They're not just tasting the food, they're becoming aware of the food. They're tuning into that all of those flavors that are there. When we're trying to become good at talking to our loved ones in the spirit world, or tuning into them, or becoming aware that they're around us, there are lots and lots of things that we need to do, that we can do to enhance our abilities. And the pendulum is just one of those. If you go to a dowsing society, of course, the point might be that you find the hidden treasure that no one else can find. There are lots of things that you can do with the pendulum, but what we're doing this morning is I'm showing you how to raise your level of consciousness so that you become much more aware, much more in tune, and then ready for the next step. Chris.
Mark is saying, I love this idea. I wonder, a personal object like my dad's small crucifix, would
Oh,
that be acceptable to use as a pendulum?
well, if you feel it is, absolutely. As long as it's heavy enough. But yes, it sounds to me like it might be. Absolutely. Yes, that would be a great thing for you to use. Yes, Mark. Let me know how you do. That goes for all of you. I want to know when you're playing with all of this and you're striving for this. If you can get a few of your friends to do it with you, then it becomes a much more fun thing to do. So you might want to consider doing that too.
Leslie is commenting, I'm going to use my small Thor's hammer necklace
Ooh,
and call upon my Viking ancestors.
nice. Wow. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to call upon your own self and your own soul too. Don't forget how important that is. But I love that idea.
Lisa is asking, is there a proper way to shorten the length of the pendulum chain, like folds, holds, or wrapping it? I want better control.
Okay. Well,
Well, I'm not controlling it, but it just seems too long.
no, I see. I see. Okay. Well, if it's a chain, you can do one of two things. You can do that, like that. There it is, and hold it like that, that way. There's no proper way. It's the pendulum holds no magic. The chain holds no magic. It's you and your energy. So that's going to work just as well. But if you feel that the chain is too long, you can always find a shorter chain. You can also you don't have to use gold, and you don't have to use a chain. Did forget to mention that you can use wool if you like. A strand of wool or string, uh, you know, cotton thread or whatever. Use anything you like, and you can make it as short or as long as you want. If you're going to use string, my suggestion would be find fine string, because the heavier the string, you need to be able to have more weight on this than on whatever you're using there. So don't think you've got to use a chain. You don't have to use a chain at all. I've done it. I've made, I've made a pendulum with cotton thread before now, and it works. you're using it, you're making it. You want it to be nice, don't you? So use something nice if you can. If you find an old silver or gold chain somewhere, by all means, by all means use that. But you don't have to. And it doesn't, as I said, it doesn't have to be gold. It doesn't have to be silver. It can be wood. You might find cork might be a bit too light for it. Doesn't have the weight, and you need the weight so that the pendulum will move. Will be able to swing back and forth or round and round and so on. So you need a little bit of weight there, but you can use any material you like to get it to get it like that.
Tracy responded back to you saying, "Oh, I understand now, but what if you already have this without the pendulum?"
Well, then you increase your level of consciousness. You all it can do is enhance what you already have. So and when we do it, we all have it, Tracy. We all do have it. So it's not a question of what if you have it. It's a question of enhancing what you have, making it stronger, making it better. And when you do these exercises, it can only make it stronger.
That's it for questions having to do with the pendulum. There were other
Okay.
questions that came in early.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer
Yes.
those?
Yeah. We can.
All right. When you came in with your song, Eric said, I have a book with, not, I'm sorry, not Eric. Dean said, I have a book with some old English songs. Do you know Oranges and Lemons?
Of course, I do. What do you mean? Do I know? It's not. It's a nursery rhyme. Oranges and lemons, say the bells of St. Clement's. I owe you 5 farthings, say the bells of St. Martin's. And all the kids are lined up, right? You've got all the kids behind you, and and you've got 2 kids making an arch with their hands, and all the kids are lined up, and they're all coming through the archway, right? And so all the kids are singing and they're coming through the archway, and you're singing oranges and lemons. The kids coming through. Say the bells of St. Clement's, I owe you 5 farthings. A farthing is an old coin. Say the bells of St. Martin, here comes a candle to light you to bed. And now the kids are all wide eyed and they're coming through the archway. And here comes a chopper to chop off your. And the poor kid who's under the arch gets it, head, and down you come. And that kid is caught, and he has to stand behind one of the kids holding the arches, or maybe he becomes one of the kids holding the arches. And you do that, and all the kids do that until all the kids have got their heads chopped off. I was singing nursery rhymes to Mary Lou's new grandson, and goosey goosey gander. All of the old nursery rhymes that you read, Humpty Dumpty fell off a wall, broke himself all into pieces. Goosey Gander threw an old man down the stairs and broke it. You want that song? Goosey goosey gander, where shall I wander? Upstairs and downstairs, and in my lady's chamber there I met an old man who wouldn't say his prayers, so I took him by the left leg and threw him down the stairs. The stairs went crack and broke his little back, and all the little ducks went quack, quack, quack. Anyway, all of the old nursery rhymes are dreadful. Every single one of them is awful. They're awful. The ladybird, fly away home. Your house is on fire. Your children all gone. There's only one left, and that's little Nan, and she's hiding under the frying pan. You set something off now, Dean. You see, I'll bet you've got all of those nursery rhymes and more besides. I'd love to. I'd love to know what you've got there. But of course, I do, and I bet you've never heard it sung before, have you? Yes, keep going, Chris. I'd love to hear
He
what he has to say about that.
Yeah, he'd followed up saying, as a retrospective, I have some trouble being made to do something.
Yeah.
Do we have total free will in the spirit world, or are we made to do things?
No, we're not made to do anything. Everything is your choice. Everything is in life is your choice. I had a lovely young lady here just the other day, and and she was talking about her boyfriend who made her do this and wouldn't let her do that, and I looked at her and I said, "What are you talking about?" Well, he never let me do. Well, do you have a voice? People can't make you do anything. And I said to her something I always say to my students, I always say to my daughter when it's necessary, I say it to my friends when necessary. People can only do to you what you allow them to do. And so, if you allow people to restrict your movements, that's up to you. So, Dean, no, we have a free will, and we're given help and we're given advice, and more fool us if we don't take the advice. Boy, oh boy, I've done that from time to time when Greg was said to me, don't do this, and then I do it, and I think, oh, well, but I can't help myself, and then I regret doing what I'm advised not to do. But that's my choice, and I take the consequences. Keep going, Chris.
Lorraine's saying, "Oh my God, scary, scary song. Why were these nursery rhymes so scary?"
Well, I think it was a way, years ago in Victorian times, it was a way to control the kids. Somebody had to control it. We didn't have TV. We did not have iPads. We did not have games. Again, when our kids, especially our little kids, they're crying or they're not doing what we want them to do. What do? We turn on the TV and let them watch the favorite show, and they sit there and they're smiling and happy and they're perfectly. Well, we didn't have anything like that in Victorian days, did we? And a lot of the kids were out on the streets, and even the kids who had good homes, they had to, the parents were often working far more than we ever work today, let me tell you. I mean, so it was a way of controlling the kids. If you're not careful, you know, you're going to end up playing oranges and lemons. But practically every nursery rhyme, every old nursery rhyme, has a grim message at the end. Yeah, something always happens that's quite grim. Okay, there's an occasional good one. I'm thinking Three Little Kittens. That's a nice one. I used to sing that one to Samantha all the time. Anyway, enough of nursery rhymes. Chris,
Tizania from Italy is asking, "Will I find peace and get out of my negative thinking about Armando quickly?"
your choice. Will you? If you'd have said to me, "Can you?" the answer is a definite yes. Will you? Don't wallow in what you wish had been. Move forward and look at what there is for your future. You need to let go of what could have been, maybe you think should have been, or all of the if onlys in your life, because whatever you hold on to those, you will never, ever find happiness. You need to let go of the old and allow the new, positive, good stuff to come into your life. So, can you? Yes. Will you? Your choice. Chris,
All right, you're right at time, Rosemary.
let's have another couple, shall we?
There's two comments, one by Dean. "My book with oranges and lemons is a music book, of course."
Of course.
And Lorraine saying, "Yes, that's true. My dad would say, 'Stop crying, or I'll give you something to cry about.'"
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. How many times have I heard that when I was a kid? I never, ever said that to my own daughter. Oh, why would I? Why would any of us? Uh, you know, anyway, thank goodness we do things a little differently today. All right. I think that's it then. Thank you for joining us. On Saturday, let me remind you, I'm going to be doing a workshop on Saturday afternoon. Um, it will be debatable as to whether or not we will be doing the Saturday morning show. Possibly, probably. Um, so just keep watching for that, and keep watching for our next. Shall we call them tutorials? Why not? Watch out for the next tutorial. Uh, we might be talking about chocolate. I'll give you plenty of warning if it's chocolate, because when you watch the show, you're going to have in front of you a little bowl of ice cream. It doesn't have to be a big lot of ice cream unless you feel like it, but you need to have ice cream in front of you and a spoon in front of you, and then see what you can see. Yes, I know, isn't that weird? Yes, what is she going to do with that ice cream? And definitely psychometry and lots of other things. So what I might do is sort of make a list and put them up on the website so you can see, and maybe you could vote in the next tutorial that you would like to participate in. How about that? All right. Until then, please, please, please uh, have a great rest of the day, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I'd like to say, of course, thank you to Grey Eagle, to Chris, of course, and all of you out there who are so wonderful and so supportive of me, and I do appreciate it. Watch for the next tutorial. Why don't you? Why shouldn't we have these tutorials? Why shouldn't we learn as much as we can about our own selves, our own soul, our own abilities? And that's what we're looking to aim for. Check the website for my list coming out of the possible, not necessarily definite, but the possible things that we can use, the possible tools that we can put in our tool bag so that we become more aware, more spiritually aware, and more aware of our own selves and our own path in life. Until then, please have a very, very blessed rest of the day, everybody, and have a very blessed weekend, because it's coming up. Bye bye, everybody.